Shankaram Shankaracharya Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantam Punah Punah Sutra Bhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantam Punah Punah Pancha-bhutatmaka prapanchodayadikarana Pancha-bhutatmaka prapanchodayadikarana Pancha-bhutatmaka prapanchodayadikarana Prapanchodayadikarana Virilchi Anirudranudena Panchavakra Shiva Sutena Panchamatanga Mukha Ganapatena Virilchi Anirudranudena Panchavakra Shiva Sutena Panchamatanga Mukha Ganapatena Paripalitoham Sumukhena Sri Panchamatanga Mukha Ganapatena Paripalitoham Sumukhena Sri Panchamatanga Mukha Ganapatena
Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar two extraordinary beings who have lived and walked across Bharatavarsha and have left us with so many gems, whether you take their compositions, whether you take their thoughts, or whether you take the places that they visited. And we find it extremely beautiful and also divine design that this is the program that gets curated today. Because if you look at today's date, which is 9th April, it is exactly 2 weeks after Muttuswami Dikshitar's Jayanti, and it is exactly 2 weeks before Adi Shankaracharya Jayanti. So in this beautiful Sangamam today, we are so thrilled and honored to be presenting something called Shankara Guruguham, which aims to shed light on a very, very rarely explored area, the influence of Adi Shankaracharya on Muttuswami Dikshitar. And placing our immense gratitude to Sri Guruguha Gana Vidyalaya for having us. Also just taking a moment to recall that this exact team came together, I think 3.5 odd years ago, for the very first time, also by Sri Guruguha Gana Vidyalaya in the Bangalore chapter. And from then to now, we have been so fortunate to explore various themes. And it is but fitting that we periodically pay tribute to the Nadajyoti that has inspired not just music, but so much of our spiritual approach. So if you take the idea of Shankaracharya's influence on Muttuswami Dikshitar, it can actually become a research paper, and I was very worried it would take that direction. So I deliberately kept out certain angles that are very, very technical. For example, the Shuddha Advaita that Adi Shankaracharya speaks about, how Muttuswami Dikshitar talks about that in many of his kritis. All of these require a very, very deep understanding, but the objective was to take us on a collective journey. So instead of focusing on the more academic areas, we have today put together a series of anecdotes, a series of stories, a series of ways in which you can yourself experience, oh, look at what Shankaracharya said, look at what Muttuswami Dikshitar said. So we leave those explosions to happen in your own mind. But we start off, as you would have noticed, with a small wordplay, because Vaibhav began with the Ganesha Pancharatnam, Mudakarartha Modakam, and immediately that led into Panchamatanga Mukha Ganapati. So Ganesha Pancharatnam, Panchamatangam. That wordplay of 5, this is also the evening of Sankashtahara Chaturthi. So from the part of the country that we come from, it's a big evening. So we felt that it was a fitting tribute to pay to Ganapati as we began. From there, if we look at these two beings, Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar, they both had phenomenal influences on them in terms of their own gurus. But what is amazing about them is the way that they perceived the guru. The idea of a guru in Sanatana Dharma is not just about an external being. It is about an internal force that guides and moves that being through all their life journey. And if you look at Adi Shankaracharya, in 32 odd years of age, for him to have traversed across from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, to have set up 4 Peethams, what kind of internal inspiration did Jagat Guru receive from Adi Guru Dakshinamurti? That is why you see in the case of Adi Shankaracharya, he leaves us with such a phenomenal work on the Dakshinamurti called the Dakshinamurti Stavam, which is a treatise on Advaita Vedanta but extols the Guru in all his glory. In the case of Muttuswami Dikshitar, we see his fondness for Dakshinamurti coming out in 2 very evident compositions, and both these compositions are loaded with secrets from Adi Shankaracharya. What are these secrets? What is the fascination for Dakshinamurti? We'll take one small example. We see the entire Dhyanam in the 10 verses of the Dakshinamurti Stavam written by Adi Shankaracharya and the verses leading up to them. Shankaracharya says, there is such a strange sight that I am seeing. Chitram Vatataror Mule. There is a chitram, a very strange sight. At the base of a banyan tree, Vatataror Mule, Vriddha Shishyaha, there are old students. And the Guru? Vriddha Shishyaha Gurur Yuva. The Guru is young. And how is this Guru answering those students with all their doubts? Vriddha Shishyaha Gurur Yuva, Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam. The Guru is answering everything through silence. And the Shishyastu Chinna Samshayaha. Just by that silence, all the doubts of these people are beautifully addressed. So this is the Dhyanamurti of Dakshinamurti, that he's seated under a banyan tree, a golden banyan tree, and Muttuswami Dikshitar says exactly this. He says, Akshaya Suvarna Vatavriksha Mula Sthite. To the one who is present at the base of the banyan tree, which is the representation of the universe itself, I bow down. So we bow down today to that Dakshinamurti before we begin this yatra with Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar holding our hands on both sides.
pa da ni ri sa pa ga ri sa pa ri sa pa sa pa sa pa sa pa ma ga ga ri Sri Dakshina-murti. Madaba maga madaba maga magari re ga magari magari sa sani sare ga maga gari re Sri Dakshina gama bada maga mabada da ma bada ni sa bada ni sa magari Sri Badani sari ri sani sari gama gari sani ri sani daba ma badani sari sani zadani gari sani dani ri sani daba daba pa ma Sri Dakshina. Gama gama gari zani zari gama ganga gaga 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 maga bama maga gari zani re saga gari mama gari re zani zari gama bari zani saba ma baga mari gaza zada da bama gama bada da bama bada da bama bada baba maga ma baba ni dani ba zani da baba ma bada da bama bada da bama gama bada ni baba dani Badani za da 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 ni sari ri ri sani sari gama gari sani mama ga gari ri za da ni sari sani ri sani da ba ma gama badani badani sari gama gari sani da badani za gari ri za sani gari sani da ni za ri sani da badani sani da ba ma gama badani za gama bada ba ma ba badani da bada badani sani gari ri za sani magari Sri Dakshina
Dakshinamurti, the Adi Guru, who is an inspiration to both Muttuswami Dikshitar and Shankaracharya, inspires them in a place not very far from here, where you all are. In Kashi Kshetram, if you see the Vishwanatha Jyotirlingam, Vishwanatha is seated in the north, facing the south. This is considered to be a Jnana Jyotirlingam. Amongst the Jyotirlingam, this has a very exalted status because it is considered to be Dakshinamurti Swarupam. Shankaracharya takes a very special fondness for Kashi, and when he comes here, he gets so lost in this Kshetram that he sings about Vishwanatha, he sings about Vishalakshi, all of which we will see. But we stop to see how he speaks about a river, the same river that flows through this Kshetram, Ganga. And Adi Shankara says, Tribhuvana Janani Vyapini Jnana Ganga, that flow of knowledge, that is Ganga within, because he sees the Ganga outside and he realizes this is the Ganga inside. Muttuswami Dikshitar as well has some beautiful experiences with Ganga. When he comes to Kashi with his guru, Chidambara Yogi, he spends many years here and he gets initiated into Sri Vidya by Chidambara Yogi. And at some point, after his initiation and his regular practice of mantra, Muttuswami Dikshitar wonders, has my mantra attained Siddhi? Now this is a very common and a very normal question for anybody who is initiated into a practice, to be able to know if that mantra is bearing fruit. So he goes to his guru and he asks him, has my mantra attained Siddhi? So Chidambara Yogi smiles and he says, go and bathe in the Ganga, you will find your answer. So Muttuswami Dikshitar immediately agrees, steps into the Ganga, and when he goes down doing a namaskaram, when he plunges into the Ganga, when he steps out with the veena in his hands, as many of you know. And one of the specialities of that veena is the Yali Mukham, which is typically turned down for the veena. That Yali Mukham is turned upward. It is to be inferred that this is an indication that Muttuswami Dikshitar's Kundalini is on the rise, and this is a Siddha Purusha himself. That is how he knows that his mantra has truly attained fruit. So he comes out. This is a very special veena, which can still, I think it is on exhibition in Madurai, if I'm not wrong. And he comes out to this veena. He comes to his guru, and he asks him, he says, look at what I received from Ganga. And his guru says, Ganga has blessed you. Now take this as a sign and go down south. So Muttuswami Dikshitar says, where? He says, go down to Tirutani and begin your compositions over there. He doesn't really talk about compositions. He says, go there and have Subramanya Darshanam. Dikshitar doesn't want to leave because his guru is here. So he says, will you come with me? So Chidambara Yogi says, no, I will not. I have to stay back here. So Dikshitar says, then I will also stay back with you. He says, no, you need to go, because if you do not go today, I cannot go tomorrow. What he means by this is that very evening Muttuswami Dikshitar proceeds all the way to come to Tirutani in Tamil Nadu. The next day Chidambara Yogi attains Samadhi. He was a Mahapurusha who knew when he was going to merge into Paramatma. In Kashi till date, for those of you who are interested, you can see the Samadhi of Chidambara Yogi, where Muttuswami Dikshitar himself used to sit with his guru. The speciality of this kshetram is there is a lingam on his Samadhi. That lingam has a Sri Chakram on it. That is the same Sri Chakram, or that is the same place where Muttuswami Dikshitar was initiated into Sri Chakra Aradhana. And when we look at stories like this, it is easy to disconnect them. It is because they happen in very different timelines. Shankara's influence by Ganga and Dikshitar's, Ganga's blessing on Dikshitar. But all of this happens with Ganga as a Sakshi. And when Shankaracharya talks about Ganga, it's an overflow of love. So we take 2 verses from his immortal Gangashtakam and we flow that into Gange Mampahi, an immortal composition of Muttuswami Dikshitar. You yourself will see the shift and how the words used by Shankara start to appear in Dikshitar's Kriti.
रोगं शोकं तापं पापं रोगं शोकं तापं पापं हर मे भगवति कुमतिकलापं रोगं शोकं तापं पापं हर मे भगवति कुमतिकलापं त्रिभुवन सारे वसुधारे वसुधाहारे त्वमसि गतिर्मम खलु संसारे त्रिभुवनसारे वसुधाहारे त्वमसि गतिर्मम वसुधाहारे त्वमसि गतिर्मम खलु संसारे अलकानन्दे परमानन्दे कुरु करुणामयि कातरवन्द्ये अलकानन्दे परमानन्दे कुरु करुणामयि कातरवन्द्ये तव तटनिकटे यस्य निवासः खलु वैकुण्ठे तस्य निवासः तव तटनिकटे यस्य निवासः खलु वैकुण्ठे तस्य निवासः खलु वैकुण्ठे तस्य निवासः खलु वैकुण्ठे तस्य निवासः गङ्गे मां पाहि गिरिशशिरस्थिते गङ्गे मां पाहि गिरिशशिरस्थिते गम्भीरकाये गीतवाद्यप्रिये गङ्गे मां पाहि गिरिशशिरस्थिते गम्भीरकाये गीतवाद्यप्रिये गङ्गे मां पाहि अङ्गजतातमुदे असिवरुणमध्ये अङ्गजतातमुदे असिवरुणमध्ये अङ्गजतातमुदे असिवरुणमध्ये अङ्गजतातमुदे असिवरुणमध्ये क्रूरपूजिते अखिल जनानन्दे क्रूरपूजिते अखिल जनानन्दे सकल तीर्थमूले सद्गुरु गुहशीले सकल तीर्थमूले सद्गुरु गुहशीले वरजनुपाले व्यासादि कृपाले वरजनुपाले व्यासादि कृपाले गङ्गे मां पाहि गिरिशशिरस्थिते गम्भीरकाये गीतवाद्यप्रिये गङ्गे मां पाहि मां पाहि
This program was that if I start talking about Kashi, I won't stop. Not because it's in my name, but because this space is such a magnetic space that you can see how it holds somebody like Muttuswami Dikshitar and Shankaracharya in such amazing ways. If you look at Kashi as we know it today, we all know that as famous as Vishwanatha is, equally famous is Annapurna. The interesting thing about Annapurna's temple, if you visit, we all consider Annapurna, and this is the idol and the form that we have, is that she is holding the patram and holding a ladle with which she feeds devotees. But if you go to the temple of Annapurna in Kashipuram, the Vigraham that you see does not have this at all. So one wonders, where is this Murti? If you see the famous Annapurna Ashtakam written by Adi Shankaracharya, Nityanandakari Varabhayakari, which ends with Bhiksham Dehi, Kripavalambanakari, Mata Annapurneshwari, he also does not describe this form at all. So here is a very interesting mystery that Shankaracharya pulls out and Muttuswami Dikshitar catches on to. If you go to the temple of Annapurna, all you will see is a face of Devi. The rest of the body, it is carved onto a wall. The rest of the body is carved, the entire thing is carved, but the rest of the body is covered with a sari and with flowers. You cannot make out any form under that. Even if you are to see the Nijarupa Darshanam of Annapurna Devi, she is not standing in the way that we typically describe her. Shankaracharya knows this rahasyam, that is why in the Annapurna Ashtakam he does not describe her like this. In the Annapurna Ashtakam, he describes her as he sees her. This form carved on a wall is Mala, Pustaka, Pashaka, Ankusha Dhari. She who is holding a Mala, Pustaka, a Pasha and an Ankusha. This is different from the Annapurna that we know. So what is the discrepancy? 3 days after Deepavali, in a small room next to this Annapurna, is the shrine of Annapurna where she appeared first. This form of Annapurna is seated exactly as we know her. She is seated and she is giving bhiksha to Shiva. This is the form that is only open for 3 days in the year in the temple of Kashi. And this is the form that Shankaracharya spoke about in a lesser known Annapurna Stuti. Now this is where we see something very beautiful. Shankaracharya draws not just from what he sees, but he pulls from so many texts that one cannot help but be amazed at his own knowledge. Somewhere in the Vishalakshi Tantram, which is one of the most obscure texts on Devi that is available, hardly available in 2 languages as of today, in the Vishalakshi Tantram we see a shlokam that says, Vame Manikya Patram. In her left hand she has a Manikya Patram. Madhurasa Bharitam Bibhratim Pani Padme. That is filled with Madhurasa. Madhurasa Bharitam Bibhratim Pani Padme Divyai Rannai Prapurnam Karadhrita Manivalaye Dakshine Ratnadarvim. Now this is the complicated shlokam beginning that is there in the Vishalakshi Tantram. Shankaracharya takes this and simplifies it when he says, Dugdhanna Varapatra, Dugdhanna Varakanchana Darvihasta, Dugdha Anna. Holding Dugdha Anna with her blessed hands, she graces Kashipuram. Muttuswami Dikshitar takes from both of these and he says, Payasanna Purita Manikya Patra Hemadharvi Vitritakari. So you can see the flow somewhere from a very difficult to access text into Shankaracharya's realm of consciousness, into Muttuswami Dikshitar's immortal composition. These are the ways through which the glory of the goddess reaches us. It is not through texts alone, it is through living traditions. And we bow down to Annapurna, who becomes accessible to us through the eternal Annapurne Vishalakshi. Something to think about is, why does the goddess have 2 names, Annapurna and Vishalakshi? But if I tell you everything now, you won't stay till the song is over, so I'll tell you later.
Rakadangada Karnapure Keyurahara Kadangada Karnapure Kanchi Kalapamanikantala Sadyukule Kanchi Kalapamanikanta Kanchi Kalapamanikantala Sadyukule पात्र दुग्धान्नपात्र वरकाञ्चन दर्भिहस्ते दुग्धान्नपात्र वरकाञ्चन दर्भिहस्ते भिक्षा प्रदेहि गुरु गिरिजे भिक्षा प्रदेहि गिरिजे गिरिजे शुद्धिताय मह्यं पायसान पूरित माणिक्य पात्र हेमदर्वी विजत करे पायसान पूरित माणिक्य पात्र हेमदर्वी विजत करे काय जाति रक्षण निपुण तरे कांचनमय भूषणांबरधरे काय जाति रक्षण निपुण तरे कांचनमय भूषणांबरधरे ओ यजासनादि सेवित बरे ओ यजासनादि सेवित बरे तुम्बुरु नारदादि नुत बरे तो यजासनादि सेवित बरे तुम्बुरु नारदादि नुत बरे त्रयातीत मोक्ष प्रद चतुरे त्रिपद शोभित गुरु गुण सादरे अन्नपूर्णे ओ यजासनादि सेवित बरे तुम्बुरु नारदादि नुत बरे त्रयातीत मोक्ष प्रद चतुरे त्रिपद शोभित गुरु गुण सादरे अन्नपूर्णे विशालाक्षि अखिल भुवन साक्षी गडाक्षि अन्नपूर्णे 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 विशालाक्षि
Annapurna and Vishalakshi. The interesting thing about these goddesses is they have two names and two different temples. The temple of Vishalakshi is different from the temple of Annapurna. If majority of you here are from South India, so you are very well acquainted with the phrase Kanchi Kamakshi, Madhura Meenakshi and Kashi Vishalakshi. Absolutely. If you look at these three goddesses, Kamakshi has her own story. The Kamakshi Vijayam and Kamakshi Tantram talks about this. Lalita has her own story, Lalita Mahatripura Sundari. But both of them are in one idol, that is in the temple of Kamakoti Peetham. If you look at Meenakshi, as the daughter of Pandya Raja, Malayadhwaja, she has her own story. As Raja Matangi, Shyamala Devi, she has her own story, but one Vigraham. You come here to Kashipuram, she has two names and two forms. In both these cases, in Kamakshi and Meenakshi, it is only one Vigraham. But in the case of Annapurna and Vishalakshi, it's two different Vigrahams. But are these the same goddess or different goddesses? Shankaracharya himself clarifies this very beautifully in one of his texts when he says that if you look at the functions of Jagannatha, one of the most beautiful and endearing functions she has is to take care of her children. And taking care of her children means looking to see which child needs how much. It is not that she has a standard ration that she just gives to every being. And I do not just mean food. Every kind of experience that one particular jiva needs, she sees. To see what they need, she makes her eyes big. So she becomes Vishala Akshi. And after seeing, she doesn't just see and then go back inside her room. After seeing, she feeds them. So Vishalakshi becomes Annapurna. That is why Muttuswami Dikshitar said Annapurna Vishalakshi. That is a huge rahasyam in terms of Shakti Aradhana, of understanding the different functions. To highlight the different functions, they have different temples, but the Shakti Swarupam. That is why we see the Sankalpam that is said in Kashi, it is Vishalakshi, Annapurna, Sameta, Sri Kashi Vishwanatha, because they are one goddess. So this is Jagannata's Mahima that comes out through Muttuswami Dikshitar's Kriti.
This is also the reason we've taken the two ragas that we took for this shlokam, Kashi Ramakriya and
Beautiful, Sama.
Sama.
So Kashi Ramakriya referring to...
Because he has composed Vishalakshmi Vishweshim.
In the same ragam, beautifully put. So from Jagannata's Karunyam, we see in Shankaracharya's works, if you've observed so far, we have been staying with the Shiva family in Kailasha. We started with Dakshinamurti, then we went on to Ganga, who is on his head, then came his Ardhangini Parvati. So how can we not speak about his son? We spoke about one son in the beginning itself, so we'll jump to the other. Shankaracharya takes a particular fondness for Subramanya. And in the Subramanya Bhujangam, if you see the Bhujangam, it's almost as if Shankaracharya is conversing with Subramanya. In one very beautiful verse, he says, he's describing a scene. And the scene is like this. And those of you who want to close your eyes and envision it, you may. There is a tree, there is a Kalpa Vriksham, and at the base of this huge, magnificent tree, there is a father, there is a mother, and there is a small boy. This father is watching because the baby boy is on the mother's left lap. So the father is seated, and to the left of the father is the mother, and on the mother's left lap, which is the extreme left, which is probably where Vivek's lap is, that's where this little boy is. So this father looks at that little boy, and he wants him. He wants to hold him because that boy is Koti Manmatha Vigraha. He's like a Koti Manmathas put together. He's so good looking. So this father extends his hands, and he says, Ihaya hi vatseti hastan prasarya, vayatyadarat shankare maturankat. Shankara, that is Parama Shankara in Kailasa, extends his hands and he says, come. So the boy looks at his mother and he says, can I go? Very reluctantly, the mother moves him from one lap. She doesn't give him to the father because she also doesn't want to leave him because he's so good looking. So she moves him from that lap to this lap. And then this boy is placed exactly here. Hoyatyadarat Shankare Maturankat Samutpatyatatam Shrayantam Kumaram Haraslishta Gatram Bhaje Balamurtim. This is what Shankaracharya says. Now if you see this Murti, what you are seeing is, up till now, there was Adi Shankara or Paramashankara, and there is Parvati, and there is Kumaraswamy. When Kumaraswamy moved over here in the center, you see a beautiful formation where Shiva is now seated along with Uma Devi and with Skanda. What I took this long to explain, Muttuswami Dikshitar put it into one word. Sa Uma, along with Uma and Skanda. Sa Uma Skanda, Soma Skanda. This is Soma Skanda Murti, which is one of the most important Murtis in Shaiva Aradhanam. You go to any Shivalayam in Dakshina Bharatam, in the southern parts of India, Soma Skanda Murti will always be there because that Murti is considered the complete manifestation of the Shiva Kutumbam. This is exactly what Muttuswami Dikshitar saw in Kanchipuram, where he said, Chintayama Kandamula Kandam. There Adi Shankaracharya saw it in Kailasham. And if we wonder how can we go to Kailasham, we cannot see what is in Kailasham. There is absolutely no worry. We can easily see it in Kanchipuram. Chintayama Kandamula Kandam. Kandamulam is at the base of the tree. Chetashri Somaskandam. So paying homage to that beautiful Murti of Sa, Uma and Skanda. The dhyanam of various devatas has various prayojanas. So doing dhyanam, even briefly, if we are able to see Shiva, Parvati and Skanda seated together, it is said that in a home where Soma Skanda is thought of, there are no familial arguments. So that is why Shankaracharya brings out this mantra murti without using the word Soma Skanda, but he puts it into shlokam. So you can see lots of chamatkaras that Shankaracharya does, which Muttuswami Dikshitar catches on to. But we move from there into a katha, into a story that is associated with Shankaracharya, which Muttuswami Dikshitar records. Now in this story, in a small little village in Tamil Nadu, with all her 18 hands, the goddess resides. And with her Ashtadasa bhujas, the goddess is extremely fierce. Now if we look at different Devata Murtis, it's important to understand what these words mean. Any Devata has three kinds of Murtis: Ugra Murti, Yoga Murti and Bhoga Murti. Ugra is the fierce form of that goddess or that god. Yoga is the meditative form of that god. And Bhoga is the form that gives blessings. In this particular kshetram, Devi with her Ashtadasha bhujas, she stays back after Rakshasa Samharam. She stays back in this place. Now she chooses to stay back, but the bhaktas who stay here, they are not able to take this intensity. And they try to go and worship her, but they're not able to, because they can't take that energy. So they go, but that energy pushes them back. This goes on day after day. Nobody is able to stand in front of her. Her eyes are piercing me, one bhakta says. Another says, she's hurting, I can't take that energy. So the bhaktas remain fearful of this Ugra Swarupam of Devi. And as it happens, Shankaracharya visits this kshetram. And then the bhaktas tell him that we cannot stand in front of her. She's so fierce. What do we do? So Shankaracharya thinks about it and he says, okay, let me figure out a way to convert all of this Ugram that she has. It is a massive upsurge of energy. Let me take this energy and let me capture it. So what Shankaracharya does is, he gets 2 earrings made. On these 2 earrings, he has the Sri Chakram carved. The Sri Chakram, as many of you would be knowing, is the diagrammatic, it is the geometrical representation of Devi's residence. And in this residence, which he gets carved on 2 earrings, he said, all of the Ugratvam will be absolutely absorbed. So he places these earrings, these Sri Chakra Tatankas, as they are called. Tatanka is the name given to a earring that is worn by a female. So he places the Sri Chakra Tatankas on this Devi. And Shankaracharya is quite convinced that the problem is going to be solved. Is the problem solved or not? I can't tell you just yet. But Muttuswami Dikshitar records this exact incident when he sings of Devi and he says that she is the one who is seated on the left lap of Shiva. She is the one who is wearing the Sri Chakra Tatankas. That is an absolute reference to this particular episode.
na 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 ವದನ ಶಶಾಂಕೆ
Shankaracharya leaves the village, convinced that the problem has come to an end. But a few days later, he finds that some of the villagers have come after him, and he says, "What happened?" And they said, "It has reduced her energy maybe by 1%, but we are still not able to stand. The Sri Chakra Tatankas have done their part, but we are still not able to stand in front of her." Now this puzzled Shankaracharya, because the Sri Chakra Tatankas are not an ordinary phenomenon. There is a whole science behind why this particular idea, what does it do, what is its power. This mantram, this tantram, this yantram, all of this, he applied his cerebral logic to control and to convert Devi's energy from very fierce into very gentle, but it did not work. So he comes back to this kshetram and he thinks about it and he says, how can I convert something that is very fierce, a very fierce energy, a necessary fierce, yes, but it's very fierce. How do I convert it into something that is very gentle? And then he strikes upon an idea and says, if I invoke her matrubhavam, all of that ugratvam will convert itself into saumyatvam. So where mantram, tantram, yantram, japam and all of these do not work, Shankaracharya does one phenomenal act. He says, straight in the line, in the cone of vision of this goddess, where she is standing, have a huge Ganapati made, a vigraham of Ganapati. Let her look at her son, because as soon as the doors of the temple are open, she will look first at her son, behind the Dhwajastambam. So, if she's looking at her son, where is the question of being angry anymore? So all that ugratvam got converted just by the insertion of one Ganapati. This Ganapati incidentally is called Prasanna Ganapati because he makes his mother very happy. And this goddess, as many of you would have guessed already, is none other than Akhilandeshwari. This is the temple of Akhilandeshwari in Tiruvannaikaval, and you will see Prasanna Ganapati over there. That Prasanna Ganapati is established by Adi Shankaracharya. So, when you take this beautiful idea into being, Muttuswami Dikshitar also is inspired by this, because he said Akhilanda Nayike and he just hinted in the previous composition that he's talking about Akhilandeshwari. But in a much more direct composition, he not only celebrates Akhilandeshwari, but says something so beautiful. He says, Lambodara Guruguha Pujite. That Lambodara Guruguha is a reminder that, Amma, as long as your children are with you, I don't have anything to fear about your Ugratvam. You will always look at me as a child only. So we present to you a snippet from Akhilandeshwari. Netra Vatsalyam. That is one of the iconic ways in which Shankaracharya looked at Devi, that he saw the compassion that she has, not just for her child Ganapati, but for every living being, because she is Jagannatha. And that comes to the fore with one of the most iconic stories that we have associated with him, when he invokes the mother. This story, many of us know, but I want to bring out some lesser known aspects of the story. The story happens when Shankaracharya is going for bhiksha as a young boy, and he turns up at an old woman's house. We all know this story, but I want to focus on some beautiful aspects here. This old woman is about to break her Ekadashi Vratam. It is Dwadashi morning. She has to eat something. The only thing that she has is one gooseberry, one amla. And she says, I'll give it to him because he has come for bhiksha and you should not decline when somebody comes for bhiksha. So he sees this, and a Bala Shankara of a few years, we don't know how old he is when he's written Kanakadhara stotram, but he sees her and he feels bad and he thinks, for all that she's giving me right now, is it not possible for Jagannatha to bless her? So then, in that inspired moment, he immediately writes a composition addressing Lakshmi. We all know this, and we quickly move to the finale of this, which is that as soon as this stotram is read, golden gooseberries fall down. So we will also read the Kanakadhara stotram with the hope that in my house golden gooseberries will fall. As far as I know, that has not happened, but this is where we miss out on Adhyatmikam. The objective of this story is not golden gooseberries. The objective of this story is to understand the conversation that happens between Lakshmi and Shankara. As soon as he reads out the Kanakadhara stavam, Kanakadhara itself is indicating a downpour of wealth. And the Kanakadhara stotram is so moving that Lakshmi arrives, and she can, the old woman who is giving Shankara bhiksha cannot see her. Only Shankaracharya can see her. And Shankaracharya immediately asks her, saying, Amma, you know why I have called you. I have called you simply because I cannot bear to see her poverty. Please bless her. Lakshmi can just say yes and leave, but she doesn't. So she says, Shankara, how can I bless her? You want me to give her sampada, Aishwarya. I cannot give her Aishwarya. She has not done any good karmas in this life or the previous life. On what basis can I just give her? Just because you are asking? And he says, no, Amma, not because I am asking. That one phalam that she took, whatever she had, she was ready to give it to somebody who came to her door, and she did not mind losing her entire punyam of following Ekadashi because she did not want somebody to leave hungry from her door. For that one phalam, for that one act, whatever is the appropriate phalam, you see and you give. Lakshmi is so moved that she says, for this, I will send an endless Kanakadhara. That is why Kanakadhara is as powerful as it is. So this is the beginning or the actual way to understand the Kanakadhara stotram. There are many phenomenal aspects associated with this stotram. One would think typically that a stotram that somebody writes when one is younger is less mature, it is more juvenile, it is more cute. But you take the starting of the Kanakadhara stotram, which he wrote when he was maybe 5 or 8, and you take the Saundarya Lahari, which he wrote when he was much later, the starting verses are reflecting the same idea. Angam harehe pulaka bhushanam ashrayanti, he says over here. Angam harehe. He talks about Lakshmi and Vishnu in the first words. And when he writes in the Saundarya Lahari, he says Shiva Shaktya Yukto. Here it is Lakshmi Narayana, there it is Parvati Parameshwara. Same bhava, not a coincidence. That is Adi Shankaracharya's genius. So, within the Kanakadhara stotram as well, there are various ideas that can be explored. But Muttuswami Dikshitar caught on to the magic of Kanakadhara stotram, and this is the reason that we chose Shankara Guruguham, because the direct words that Shankaracharya uses are reflecting in Muttuswami Dikshitar's composition. Shankaracharya says, Kalam Pudari Lalitorasi Kaita Bhare, Dhara Dhare Spurataya Tadidanganeva, Matu Samasta Jagatam Mahaniya Murti, Bhadrani Me Dishatu Bhargava Nandanaya. Look towards me with care, Bhadrani Me Dishatu, O daughter of Bhargava Muni. Bhadrani Me Dishatu Bhargava Nandanaya. What is Muttuswami Dikshitar's iconic composition on Mahalakshmi? Shri Bhargavi Bhadram Me Dishatu. The same words that Shankaracharya took, Muttuswami Dikshitar just took it and flipped it. And that is why this composition in Mangala Kaishiki of his is a very, very special one, because the rahasyams of the Kanakadhara stotram are hidden in here. I'll give you one more rahasyam from here. Shankaracharya speaks in the Kanakadhara stotram of different swarupams of Lakshmi. And one amongst them is a very, very important form of Lakshmi. This is Lakshmi who has to be viewed every morning. It is said, those who wake up at Pratak Kalam and they do dhyanam of Lakshmi who has 8 elephants around her, and all the 8 elephants are pouring water on her. Dighastibik Kanaka Kumbhamukavasrishtas Svarvahinim Vimalacharu Jalaplutangim Pratar Namami Jagatam Jananim. Those who pray to the goddess like this, in their house and in their body, there will never be any kind of unnecessary heat. This is why you see atop homes, you will have Gajalakshmi. This is why in temples you have Gajalakshmi. When it comes to iconography, only 2 are depicted because most of it is 2D. But actually it is 8 elephants. Muttuswami Dikshitar talks about this episode in this Kriti. This is not only, it's of course not a coincidence, but all of the Kanakadhara's rahasyams reflect in this composition. So therefore it was fitting that it became our main offering for this evening. So we will take you through this magnum opus composition of Muttuswami Dikshitar. And many of you are very curiously staring at the board over there for guessing that some art is going to come up. But the art is going to be inspired by the music, just as Muttuswami Dikshitar is inspired by what Shankaracharya had to say. The art that will come from there will be inspired by the music that comes from here. So we take you through this journey of Bhargavi and her Putra Vatsalyam for Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar.
Kalamudali lalito rasi kaidabhare Kalamudali lalito rasi kaidabhare dhara dhare dhara dhare dhara dhare suratiya Diya tadidangane Matu samasta jagatam Matu samasta jagatam Matu samasta jagatam Mahaniya murti Bhadrani me dishatu Bhadrani me dishatu Bhargavanandanaya Bhadrani me dishatu Bhargavanandanaya Bhargavanandanaya Shri Bhargavi Bhadram me dishatu Shri गुरु मानिनी मम मनसि तिष्ठतु मधुकर विजय मङ्गलकैशिका निवसतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सामज हेमकुम्भस्नापिता विजयतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी महालक्ष्मी सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु समज हेमकुम्भ स्नापिता विजयतु सदन मध्ये सदा विहरतु विजयतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी विघरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विघरतु सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी सदा विघरतु सदन मध्ये मगरी सदन मध्ये सनिधप मगरी सदन मध्ये गम पाप दप सनिधप मगरी सदन मध्ये गम दद पप मग मप मा दप महालक्ष्मी सदा सदा रि रि ग ग म रि स स म ग म द प स द द स नि द प म प प म म ग रि सदन मध्ये महालक्ष्मी दप मगरी सदन मध्ये मा पद मद प मा प म मगरी सदन मध्ये सरि ग म म मगरी सरि ग म प प प मगरी सरि ग म प द प स नि द प द प प म मगरी सदन मध्ये प म प द द प द म द द प म प प म ग म प प म ग म प द द प म प द प स नि द प नि द प म प म मगरी सदन मध्ये सरि म ग द प स सरि म ग द प स स नि द प प म रि सरि म ग द प स स नि द प द प प म ग रि स नि सदन मध्ये द द प म म म म म म म म म म म म म प प म ग ग म प म म म म म द द प प म ग म प प म ग प म ग रि स नि रि ग म ग रि स द द रि रि ग ग म द प प म ग रि स स रि ग म म द द प प स नि स नि द प द प म ग रि स रि ग म स रि ग म ग स रि ग म म म प द प प म ग रि स रि ग म द प स नि द प प म ग रि ग म रि स नि द प द प म ग रि म म ग रि स म ग रि स म ग म म ग प म म ग द प म रि ग प म स Sari Gapama Sani Dabama Gari Gagama Dabama Mama Baba Mama Dadabama Baba Maga Pamagari Zada Pamagari Zada Dari Dari Sari Baba Gari Sari Gama Magari Gama Baba Dadaba Sani Dabama Daba Zada Dada 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 Dari Zada Sari Gama Gari Zam Samagari Sari Gama Gari Sari Bama Gari Sani Samagari Sari Sani Nidada Bama Bada Sari Sani Dani Sari Sani Gari Sani Sani Dani Sani Dabada Kati Sani Dari Sani Dabada Ni Dabama Gama Bodaba Baba Sani Da Bada Gari Sani Gama Bada Bama Bada Sani Bada Sani Da Gari Sani Sani Dabama Ba Gari Sani Sani Kati Sani Dari Sani Dabada Bama Gari Sani Namadye Mahalakshmi हे महालक्ष्मी सदा विहरतु सामज हेम कुम्भ स्नापित विजयतु पदनयनाननकरनलिनी पदनयनाननकरनलिनी परम पुरुष हरि प्रणयिनी पदनयनाननकरनलिनी परम पुरुष हरि प्रणयिनी वदन कमल गुरु गुहधरणी वरनुत रंगनाथ रमणी श्री भार्गवी पदनयनाननकरनलिनी परम पुरुष हरि प्रणयिनी वदन कमल गुरु गुह जननी वरनुत रंगनाथ रमणी श्री भार्गवी भद्रं मे दिशतु
When we said extempore, we truly meant it, because when some of the words, the word Hari came there, because I know Shankaracharya's fondness for what we call Samayachara, where he calls Devi, either the first word before that or the word after he calls Devi will always have her husband's name. This is called Samayacharam, when you view Purusha and Prakriti together. So when I was making the painting, I was wondering, why is Vishnu not here? And I put the words Hari in, completely forgetting that the Kriti itself has the words Parama Purusha Hari Pranayini. So I feel like a divine design dictated this entire, whatever you saw. And this Swarupam that you see in the painting and that you heard through the music is one of the most important aspects of Lakshmi Dhyanam, because here, this is the first time that Mahalakshmi gave darshanam to Indra and the other devatas. This is during Samudra Manthanam. In Samudra Manthanam, everybody was waiting for Amritam. But prior to Amritam, Lakshmi came. And when Lakshmi came, the Rakshasas were not interested, so they went aside. But Indra recognizes that this is Jagannatha, and he immediately has a Simhasana made for her, and he asks her to sit. In all this, her eyes are closed. She comes and she sits, and Indra sends all the devatas there saying, bring all the Samudra Jalas from every Jalam, from every Samudram, bring water, fill it in a golden casket and bring it in a golden kalasham. And then he calls the Ashtadikgajas, the 8 elephants that hold up the 8 directions, and he says, come and do an Abhishekam to her, because she is the one who is holding up Bhumi. So as they do this Abhishekam to her, Lakshmi is completely drenched. This is what Sri Suktam talks about. Ardram Pushkarinim Pushtim Pingalam Padmamalinim. Ardram means to be drenched. And in all this, Lakshmi's eyes are still closed. So after Indra does his puja, Lakshmi looks around, and one of her attendants brings her a mala, a Padma mala. That's why I've depicted the Padmas over there. Because her eyes are still not focused on anybody at all. Much like my eyes, which are trying to focus on you in this dark. And when she's looking around, she's only looking for one person. Indra and all the other devatas are seeing, who is she going to place this mala on? And she looks, and very beautifully, in a Telugu Padyam it is said, the 2 aksharas steal her heart. Those 2 aksharas are Ha and Ri, Hari. So she places this mala on Vishnu's Vakshasthalam, on Vishnu, and she becomes a part of Vishnu's Vakshasthalam. That is why she is Parama Purusha Hari Pranayini. This and multiple aspects of Lakshmi Upasana are hidden in the Kanakadhara stotram. They are hidden in other compositions of Muttuswami Dikshitar, which can form an entire program in itself. But keeping the opacity of time in mind, we move on from Sri Bhargavi into another beautiful aspect of Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar's fondness. So one is bringing out mantra devatas, bringing out rahasyas as you saw. But another is absolute fondness for certain devatas. Shankaracharya, when he was growing up in Kaladi, if you visit Kaladi till date, which is where he was born, you will see very close to his house, there is a Krishna temple. That is the same Krishna that Shankaracharya used to worship when he was growing up. And a popular story is told that when his parents had to go away for a few days, they asked him to take care of Krishna's upacharas. And Shankaracharya by then had been familiar with how to do this. So he went and he placed the food in front of Krishna. And he used to think when his father went to do upachara for Krishna that every day his father would go, place the food there, Krishna would eat, and then his father would bring the food back. So he went with this innocence that Krishna would eat, except that Krishna did not eat. There is an idol and there is food there. Shankaracharya sat for so long. And then he started crying. And you see the story happening with multiple bhaktas, that when a bhakta cries, Paramatma will not take it. So Krishna appears there, Balakrishna appears there, and he says, why are you crying? So Shankara says, I'm crying because you didn't eat the food. And then Krishna says, okay, I will accept it. Normally this is not my protocol, but I will accept it. And Krishna takes the entire plate that Shankaracharya has brought and eats it. Shankaracharya continues to cry. This is a Bala Shankaracharya. Krishna says, now what is the problem? He said, nothing. My father used to at least bring back something home. You've eaten everything. What is there for me to eat now? So his fondness for Krishna begins over here. And you see Shankaracharya's works. No matter wherever he speaks about Vishnu and other forms of Narayana, he always uses the words Murari. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare. Murari is Krishna's name, the one who killed Murasura. Everywhere where he has to talk about Narayana, he puts in the word Murari. Because he's so fond of Krishna. And this fondness is also because Shankaracharya sees Krishna and Krishna's feminine counterpart Kali. He sees them in the same light. To be in Kolkata and to not talk of the goddess is impossible. Also, the goddess's favorite bhakta is watching us from that corner of the auditorium, which I noticed when we were seated here, that Paramahamsa, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's picture is there. That is why if you observed when Vivek was singing about Bhiksham Pradehi Girije, he inadvertently said Bhiksham Pradehi Guru. I felt like that was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa talking through this. So in all this, in this fondness for Krishna, Shankaracharya saw Devi. And he calls Krishna as Saundarya Rajam, the one who is the king of beauty. But he also calls Devi as Tripura Sundari. So we present to you two compositions of Muttuswami Dikshitar, which combine the essence of understanding that Krishna and Devi Tattvam is identical. If you look at both of them are what color? Blue in color. Look at the oceans. The oceans are all blue, but are they truly blue? They're not. They appear to be blue because of the depth. Shankaracharya said, my Krishna and my Kali are like that. They're so deep in their characters that they just pull you in and they give you the illusion of something else, but they truly have no color. So we present you just a little bit, so much can be said about Krishna Tattvam and Kali Tattvam, but we bring to you two special compositions for a certain reason that I'll explain after.
Shankari.
This exploration can take so many different directions, but I think it would be incomplete to talk about Muttuswami Dikshitar without at least touching upon one phenomenal idea that he left us with, which is worshipping the goddess who lives in 9 enclosures, the Navavarnams, through one of the Kritis. And this entire school of Sri Vidya Upasana is there in his compositions. For those who wonder, how do I do Sri Chakra Aradhana? Should I have Sri Chakra at home? Can I not? How do I do it? All these complications can be put on one side, and singing or listening to his Kritis will have the same effect as doing Sri Vidya Upasana. So we present to you one of the Navavarnams, which is inspired by how Adi Shankaracharya viewed Kamakshi. For Adi Shankaracharya, Kamakshi is seated in the center, with on either side of her, Lakshmi and Saraswati are the ones who are fanning her. Now if you look at this form, it might suggest that, oh, so Parvati is greater than equal to Lakshmi or Saraswati. The bhavam here is that Parvati or Kamakshi here is representing Kriya Shakti, the action that is necessary for anything to take form. On either side of Kriya Shakti is Ichha Shakti and Jnana Shakti. Jnana Shakti is Saraswati, Ichha Shakti is Lakshmi. So together Ichha, Jnana and Kriya are the ones that we are worshipping whenever we see Devi. Wherever we see Shakti, she is always with Ichha, Jnana and Kriya together. Muttuswami Dikshitar explained this in 2 simple words. Kamala Vani Sevita Parshva. Kamala, who is Lakshmi, and Vani, who is Saraswati, are worshipping her, are serving her with a fan. So we present that little excerpt from Kamalambam Bhajare before we conclude this evening.
Kamalavani
When we talk of Adi Shankaracharya's contributions to Sanatana Dharma, it is important to understand that he came at a time when there was so much of confusion, so many different things happening within the organized religion of Hinduism. Outside, intra and inter, there was so much of confusion that Shankaracharya came and he cleared the dust and he said, there are 6 ways of attaining Paramatma. There are 6 forms of Paramatma that are the absolute Paramatma, the supreme truth that are manifest. Those 6 forms are called Shan Matas. You fall into any of these matas or all of these matas, all of them will take you to that ultimate idea of Paramatma. Those 6 matas, those 6 forms are Ganapati, then Shakti, then Kumaraswami, then Vishnu, then Shiva, and finally Surya. These are called Shan Matas. Shan Matas exist in the Vedas as well. Shankaracharya brought that out and said, worship all of these. Don't say, I'll only worship one. You can be in one system, all the others will come. This is the idea of how, if you are sharing a story about Devi, suddenly Vishnu will have a role, Shiva will have a role. It brings together all the Shanmatas. And Shankaracharya is credited with the title of Shanmata Sthapanacharya, the one who reinstated Shanmatas and made it clearer for us as to what is the easiest ways to approach Paramatma. And we took that idea of Shanmatas and we see how beautifully Muttuswami Dikshitar has also spoken about all of the Shanmatas. Of course, he has credit to have written compositions on several deities. But we take a few excerpts from each of the Shanmatas, beginning with Surya and concluding with Mahatripura Sundari. And as we take you through them, we encourage you to pay attention to the lyrics, because the lyrics that Dikshitar uses are influenced by Nigama and Agama, which is Veda Shastram and Tantra Shastram, both of which Shankaracharya acknowledged and celebrated and put them back in their. So with that final homage to the Shanmatas, to the Shanmata Sthapanacharya, and to Nadajyoti Muttuswami Dikshitar, we bring this evening to a gradual close.
In this piece, we have put together 6 Madhyamakala Sahityams of Muttuswami Dikshitar. We'd encourage you to try to guess which songs they are as we lead into them. मनसिज कोटि कोटि लावण्याय दीन चरण्याय
Instead of singing on Vishnu, we chose to address in the Shanmatas Narasimha, because Narasimha is the one that Shankaracharya addressed the Karavalamba stotram, Lakshmi Nusimha Mamadehi Karavalamba.
नगधर सरसि जकर मुरहर नगधर सरसि जकर परम पुरुष पवन शुभकर मुरहर नगधर सरसि जकर परम पुरुष पवन शुभकर सुरुचिर करि गिरि वरद विजय सरस गुरु गुह हृदय सहचरण श्याम गच नरसिंह ब्रह्म पूज स्वेच स्वच नरसिंह गज संरक्षण चरणों दीन जन संरक्षण चरणं दिव्य पतंजलि व्याघ्रपाद दर्शित गुंजिताब्द चरणं दीन जन संरक्षण चरणं दिव्य पतंजलि व्याघ्रपाद दर्शित गुंजिताब्द चरणं पाणिनि सदग समगम पानि मगध गणध गम गम पसनि गजं तरि प मगध दिगिन गजं तरि प मगध दिगिन गजं तरि प मगध दिगिन तुमानन्द नडन प्रकाशं चित्सवेशं आश्रयामि प्रपंचातीत गुरु गुहमहिते परमाद्वैत बोधिते ललिते प्रपंचातीत गुरु गुहमहिते सुरुचिर नवरत्न पीडते सुगधर प्रवृत्ते सुमनस्ते श्री राज राजेश्वरी त्रिपुर सुंदरी शिवे पाहि माला
Ladies and gentlemen, the claps should not stop at all for all these artists. Non-stop applause, please, for Sri Vivek Sadashivam, Sri Vinay Varanasi, Vaibhav Ramani, Adamya Ramanand, and Achyut Bora. We heard some mesmerizing vocals, outstanding storytelling, spellbinding art, brilliant instrumentation. Adi Shankaracharya and Muttuswami Dikshitar celebrated from the Adi to the Antam of this program. Thank you very much. That was Shankara Guru Gruham. Witnessing this magic along with us is Pandit Debashish Bhattacharya, guitar maestro and someone who redefined the Indian classical scene with slide guitar and the creator of Pushpa Veena. We would like to honor him. We would request Sri Atul Jairaj to please felicitate Sri Debashish Bhattacharya Ji. Thank you very much, dear audience. This is we are coming to the conclusion of our two-day event, the double bonanza that we had promised. Sri Guru Gana Vidyalaya, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and Accolade Studios jointly presented the 248th Dikshitar Jayanti 2023, a grand two-day music festival celebrating the Vidyalaya's 80th year, organized by Guru Guha Sangeet Sammelan, co-powered by State Bank of India, radio partner 91.9 Friends FM. You can watch glimpses of these performances shortly on the Vidyalaya's YouTube channel and Facebook page shortly. So do subscribe to them. And thank you very much. Thanks to the Vidyalaya and Sammelan for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this program. And you've been a lovely audience. Thank you. Good night.
And I'd also like to once again thank everybody here. Thanks to the organization and all of you involved in having us. Thanks on behalf of everybody on stage. For me, of course, this is my second home, so it feels really, really special to come and perform on such occasions, on such landmark occasions of the Vidyalaya and the Sammelan. So thank you all for coming in such big numbers and encouraging us. Thank you.